Hi, this is Chad Higgins from Highland Church of Christ, and welcome to Tuesday. And it is also Happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope you're wearing green like I am so no one pinches you. I'm joining you today for our daily Bible devotional, and I'm glad that you're here with us. We're going to talk for just a little bit, and thanks for joining us. You know, when I was a kid, things were quite a bit different. We mowed our own grass, we did a lot of our own house repairs, and we changed our own oil in our cars. My dad was a great teacher. He taught me to do all kinds of things around the house and to prepare me for my future life. But one of the things that I certainly learned from my father was how to change oil in the vehicles. And we had several vehicles at any given point that we'd be changing oil in on a Saturday. Well, I remember one time in particular that we were getting ready to change oil, and we pulled the car up on ramps so we could get underneath it and loosen the plug. But my dad had the habit of taking all the quarts of oil, right, loosening the cap and making sure it was ready to be poured in, and then he would line them up right there on the radiator to be poured in when we were ready. Now, something my dad always said when he taught me something was this: "Son, do as I say, right, and not as I do," because inevitably he would do something in that process that he didn't want me to repeat. Well, sure enough, we were changing oil, and not thinking of the order of things, he got in the car, started it, backed it down the ramp too early, and every one of those quarts of oil just fell off onto the ground, lids open, spilling everywhere. Of course, I was laughing, which was terribly unhelpful in that moment, but I thought it was funny. And my dad, exasperated, looked at me and said what you can imagine: "By the way, do as I say and not as I do." And as a parent now, I find myself doing the same thing with my children, wanting to teach them something that they can take that lesson on in life, but realizing I'm going to mess up on the way, and it's probably not going to be a perfect teaching. You know, Jesus was always in teaching mode while he was with us here on earth. Everything he did, whether it was healing somebody or feeding somebody or preaching, he was always modeling for his disciples how we should act and what we should do. And unlike me, when I teach my children how to do things, Jesus didn't have to say the disclaimer, "Do as I say and not as I do." Not only was he perfect, but he learned what to do from his Father God, who is also perfect. Of all the things he modeled for us, however, how to love and how to love well was probably the greatest lesson. We see that in John chapter 15 as we read along here beginning in verse 9. Jesus says this to his disciples: "As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you obey my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have obeyed my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this, so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that he lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I learned from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. Then the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. This is my command: love each other." You know, in times like these, when we feel powerless sometimes to do much, when we feel like the next step we make might be in the wrong direction, we are grateful that Jesus still remains our teacher, and that love is the greatest thing that we could ever do. And when we love, we are acting like Jesus. And as Paul reminds us, when we love perfectly, all fear is driven out. So take a moment today. Follow in Jesus' footsteps, to love and to love well, and to do as Jesus said and as he did. Blessings.